Alrighty, y'all. So this is Diesel We the People News. Alright, this video is without prejudice and or without recourse. Alright, I'm not waiving any of my rights, none whatsoever. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to give legal advice. I may give you opinions, but never legal advice. Alright, you do as you wish. Be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. Okay. So the reason why I will not give you legal advice, well, because I'm not an attorney. That's why. Alright, this is Direct D. Alright, and absolutely go to his channel because he's awesome at everything he does. Even at this court in Dokita. And he's having a hard problem with having his own attorney and not doing as he wish, which is normal because, well, the first obligation to the courts, the attorney's first obligations is to the courts and to the public, not to yourself. Understand what the public is. Okay? Alrighty. But proceed forward.
We're going to turn to number 4. This is the rough matter. Apologize for the delay. This is CR 2021-1173-15.
Now, I have to say, y'all, I've actually watched some court videos, and I recognize the clerk and this judge. I did not know it was Arizona because it went by something else on the YouTube. I did not know this was Arizona, and I believe, I may be mistaken, but I think she's actually done a couple of CPS family courts matters also. But I had to go through it and kind of check it out. I just go through them and watch them, but I don't record everything.
Yes, there's our one, and if the state can announce.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jane Schneider for the state.
Mr. DeBridget, I think you're still on mute. I can't hear you.
There we go. My apologies. Ron DeBridget for Mr. Ruff, who I see is seated there at council table.
Yes, Your Honor, he did not speak for me. I have a motion.
Mr. Ruff,
He did not speak for me.
stop. So here's what this is not. This is not Judge Judy. I'll let you speak when I tell you to.
That's somebody speaking for me. They do not speak
Stop
for me.
speaking, because what I can do is not have this hearing. So you're going to follow my rules and directions, or we won't do this hearing. And your matter will get delayed.
I'm asking for a
Stop
continuance.
talking until I...
She takes a picture, and in that picture is this ET. He puts the camera over.
Your matter will get delayed.
I'm asking for a
Stop
continuance.
talking until I tell you to speak and answer the things that I direct you to answer, Mr. Russ. So, in order for us to go forward, the first thing that you need to do is indicate your name and your date of birth. Mr. Russ.
My name is Christopher Ruff.
Thank you. All right, so this is the time set for the final trial management conference. I will note that we were last here on March 8th of 2022, and at that time the court did release Mr. Lockhart.
So let's pause a second and go into who David Lockhart is and why the court excused him. The court excused him because I asked David to do things to help prepare for my defense, and he did absolutely nothing. And then when I told him that if he didn't help me, I was going to file a bar complaint, he excused himself from the case. Feel free to pause this and read this email. This is not an email that you should get from your lawyer on a felony case where they're trying to put you in prison. This guy doesn't give two hoots whether or not I'm guilty or not. He's just going to collect a paycheck trying to defend me in a courtroom where everybody knows him. If you go back deeper into his history and you read his reviews, he's been in a lot of trouble, and a lot of people don't feel that he's a very good lawyer. Check him out. And from one bad lawyer to another, the court is trying to stick me with this guy named Ron DeBrigida. After I have clearly submitted the proper paperwork to defend myself, they are adamantly trying to not allow me to do this, and I'm going to show you.
And directed the Office of Public Defense Services to identify new counsel. That has now happened. Mr. DeBrigida has been identified as new counsel.
So, like I said, from one bad lawyer to another, they stick me with a guy who doesn't help people and then transfer me to another guy who admittedly doesn't help people and doesn't communicate with his clients. Feel free to pause all of this and read it very thoroughly, because this is from the Supreme Court of Arizona when they admonished this man for not doing his job correctly. I mean, this court case happened almost a month ago. This guy has been in trouble for not communicating with his clients, and I haven't even heard from him except for the one time that I called him to make sure that a court order was sated. Something to keep in mind when you watch this next part. I filed the proper paperwork. I submitted it to the clerk court and to the court, and I had copies when I was in court. But yet this judge is still going to deny my motions like I don't even know what I'm talking about and I'm not doing it right. I followed the rules to a T, and she's still violating them.
Mr. Ruff, I'm going to get to you in just a moment. But first, Mr. DeBrigida, have you been able to obtain discovery either from the state or from Mr. Lockhart?
Judge, I was speaking with Mr. Lockhart at the end of last week and again yesterday. I'm actually on my way downtown shortly. I would have been there actually in your courtroom, but for a nail in my tire. But I'm coming down for trial with Judge Fish. But I'm also going to drop off a thumb drive to Mr. Lockhart's office so he can give me the disclosure materials.
Okay. Mr. Ruff, you wanted to be heard about Mr. DeBrigida being counsel of record. Go ahead.
Mr. DeBrigida does not represent me. I do not consent to the public defender's office taking anything on my behalf. I have a motion right here to waive my rights and represent myself, as well as a motion to continue for 6 weeks so I can prepare myself for trial, submit subpoenas, interview witnesses, and proceed with due process in my case, because it's obvious that my public defenders over the last year have not done this. So I am going to be representing myself. I have a motion. I had it submitted to a clerk of the court already. I have a copy of that.
When did you file it with the clerk of the court?
April 1st, or April 11th, 2022.
How did you see it?
J. Taylor, Deputy Clerk, signed for it. This is pursuant to courtroom rule 6.1c.
Okay.
Sorry, Your Honor, what was that? What was that date, Your Honor?
What was the date? April 11th was the date that Mr. Ruff indicated. Mr. Ruff, you were required to deliver a copy to this division as well, pursuant to rule.
I have it right here.
Okay, you were supposed to do that when you filed it, sir. Having said that, Mr. DeBrigida, have you received a copy?
Now, you are about to see and hear a Superior Court judge in Arizona named Lisa Ann Vandenberg work with the prosecutor and this pretend lawyer they're trying to stick me with to claim that I didn't file this paperwork that you're looking at right now. So you notice the sticker up at the top right-hand corner. That sticker only comes from the clerk of the court when you go and you file this paperwork. And when you first go and file this paperwork, they ask you how many copies you need. And I asked them, why do I need copies? And they said, well, you need to go upstairs and you need to put copies in the judge's box and the prosecutor's box. Well, I did that. These papers were hand-delivered into their motions box. There is no way they didn't get this. What they're trying to say is that it wasn't filed with the electronic system yet and that they don't have it in front of them, which is not an excuse to pretend I didn't file a motion, especially when I brought copies into the courtroom. You are allowed to walk a motion into court and deliver it in court, but yet the judge is going to pretend like that's not even a thing and she's not going to hear anything I have to say.
No, and I'm looking at the docket now. I don't see it was filed.
And did the state receive a copy?
No, Your Honor, I have not received a copy.
Okay, well, so there's the first, I will just tell you, Mr. Ruff, in order to consider whether or not to release Mr. DeBrigida, there are certain things that I need to consider.
Actually, Vandenberg, there's nothing you need to consider. The only thing you need to consider is if I waived my rights knowingly and intelligently, and if I have the capability to follow along and understand what's happening. That's pretty much it. You guys should Google this case law I put up on the screen. So what's starting to happen in my trial is they really don't want me to represent myself, and this judge and the prosecutor are doing everything in their power to stop me. I've already appealed it, and I'm about to submit a second special action appeal today as I'm making this video. So keep watching it, because as you're watching this, I'm filing more appeals and trying to get this into a higher court, because they are totally violating my rights. The right to represent yourself has been established for so long, it's not even funny. It's in the Arizona Constitution. It's in the United States Constitution. It's all over the place except for in this woman's head.